One of the games that I played a ton of was Capcom vs. SNK 2 on both my GameCube and on the Xbox. And throughout the years, that's a game that I frequently come back to, and I've even been playing on my iconic arcade machine, even in recent times over the holidays. One game, however, that I saw advertised growing up in magazines like GamePro was SVC Chaos SNK vs. Capcom. And I remember as a kid thinking to myself, this looks interesting, especially because I was such a huge fan of Capcom vs. SNK 2 that I kind of figured this was some sort of switch up or toss up of that formula in kind of a different style of game package. And unfortunately, throughout the years, I never really got a chance to ever play it until recently, where I've basically loaded it onto my iconic arcade machine. And in this video, I'm going to basically play it with you guys and let you know what my thoughts are on this and if this is a underrated classic or something worth skipping entirely. So let's take a look. So to start this off, I'm not going to tell you I know a ton about this game beyond literally some old school game magazine previews, but what I do know is this game didn't get the same level of regard in any capacity as Capcom vs. SNK 2. My understanding was this game, from reading some old game magazines, at least if my memory serving me correctly, this game was a little different, or a lot different than a Capcom vs. SNK 2, and a lot different in the way that it played less like a standard Capcom style fighter, and even in some ways didn't play exactly how a lot of SNK fighters played. And some reviewers, if I'm remembering this correctly, claimed this game was kind of a weird toss-up and it felt very unbalanced. Now, I played a little bit of this before I filmed this video and given this a bit of a try, but let's get into it. So this is, as I understand, this is an actual Neo Geo arcade port that I'm playing on the iconic arcade. But one of the things you'll also know is my layout's not a one-to-one with the standard Neo Geo machines, but this is clearly a SNK or Neo Geo based game, essentially. But you can see on both sides you got your SNK guys, you got your Capcom guys. I'm definitely more of a Capcom guy myself, so let's just give Akuma a try here. But one of the things that I will highlight that I think is really interesting about this, so you don't have the multiple fighters like you have in the Capcom vs. SNK 2s. This is just a standard one-on-one fighter. However, I really like the sprite work in this. I feel like the sprite work looks really good for this game. Like, looks better in my opinion than the sprites that they used in the Capcom vs. SNK 2. I felt like you were pretty mixed in terms of the sprite quality. In terms, like, great game and all, but you were mixed. Now, of course, this is full 2D, but yeah, I just want to highlight, like, the sprites look smooth, like they look good. And I even like the speed of this as well. Like, it just feels pretty, it feels more like a modern fighter than what it is kind of trying to portray itself as, I guess, if that makes sense. I think one of the things that people disliked about this, I'm going to assume, had to do a lot of the fact that you lost a lot of the flares of some of the verse fighter games. Like, you don't have the multiple different fighters, you don't have the multiple different characters to play as, and you can also tell that I'm not very good at these types of games because I just got completely destroyed. But you don't have, I think this was also coming out around like the tail end of the Street Fighter Alpha era too, so you don't have the different fighting play styles with the isms, as I recall, from like the Alpha series or anything else. So this is kind of more just a straightforward fighter that way, if that makes sense. But I remember having this recollection. I could be completely mistaken, but some people kind of implying that this was more of a weird style fighter because it didn't fit neatly into the SNK style fighter or Capcom style fighter category. I kind of feel like this feels more like an SNK fighter, but that's just me. But I don't mind it. Like, it feels pretty good, and I'm not very good at it. I do like, though, that if you start like just rushing your joystick back or forward, you move faster, and you can also evade quicker too. Now I'm getting desperate to just get a win out here. Completely fucked that up. Should not have lost that. But we're gonna go again. But oh, that's cool. So you can pick your A, B, C, D, so you can make the guys weaker. Or I didn't realize that. Let's try going in with Ryu. I guess we're gonna. Another thing that I recall being one of the criticisms of this was the backgrounds weren't too great. I'm not gonna say I'm so ultra picky on this style of game, but this feels a little. Apparently, I'm meant to play as Ryu. Somehow took out like 90% of what I was pulling off there. There we go. But yeah, I personally, let's see another level, but personally, I'm not super ultra picky on the backgrounds, but that was a criticism I recall people bringing up. I guess when you look at the buttery smooth sprites that you got, and then you got these kind of lower grade backgrounds, this is, I can see why some people might have complained. This guy, I don't even know, this guy's just completely spamming me with the attacks. Ooh. Now I will say as well that, again, like I'm saying, like the way this game plays, it's not a bad game. It actually, I feel like I could, granted I actually invest some time into it to not be completely god awful at it. I feel like I could get into the groove of things and really, you know, really kind of get into the finer points of it. I will say though, this does not feel like a verse style game really at all. It just feels more like a general SNK style fighting game that happens to feature Capcom characters, which if you're somebody who this is your sort of thing, that like you like that style of fighter, this might be worth playing just for that reason alone. But if you're looking at like this as being some sort of successor to you know, Capcom versus SNK 2, this is definitely not the same thing. This is very different. Very different in a lot of different ways in terms of just the way the fighting generally works, the way the, oh, sorry, I'm just button mashing now, hoping that no, didn't. But it's gonna be a lot different. It's not a standard versus fighting game. So I'm not gonna say this is a bad game. It's kind of more of an oddity. I only say an oddity because this isn't a game that I hear people frequently talking about or bringing up, but it's interesting. It's different. It's not the same as a lot of these other verse fighters. But am I going to say that you should rush out and try to find an old copy for your PS2 or your Xbox? I'm not sure. Depends how much you love SNK style fighters. But this is a unique, interesting fighter with really good sprite work, and it's relatively well like playable. It's generally a good game, but I'm not going to say that it's doing anything really dramatically different than something else that's already out there. And I'm not going to say this is really in line with Capcom vs SNK really in any way.